2 Kings chapter 1, reign of the Ahaziah continued. After Ahab's death, Moab rebelled against Israel. Ahaziah fell through the ranks of his roof terrace at Samaria and was injured. So he sent out a messenger with the instruction, "Go and inquire of the Baal-zebul, the god of the Ekron, whether I shall recover from these injuries." Meanwhile, the messenger of the Lord said to Eliah the Tishbite, "Go and meet the messenger of the Samaria kings and tell them, is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going to inquire of the Baal-zebul, the god of Ekron? For this the Lord says, you shall not leave the bed upon which you lie. Instead you shall die." And Eliah departed. The messenger then returned to Ahaziah, who asked them, "Why have you returned?" They answered, "A man met us and said to us, 'Go back to the king who sent you and tell him, the Lord said, is it because there is no God in Israel that you are sending to inquire of the Baal-zebul, the god of Ekron? For this you shall not leave the bed upon which you lie, instead you shall die.'" The king asked them, "What was the man like who met you and said these things to you?" They replied, "He wore a hairy garment with a red belt around his waist." "It is Eliah the Tishbite," he exclaimed. Then the king sent the captain with his company of the 50 men after Eliah. The prophet was seated on the hilltop. When he found him, he said, "Man of God, the king commands you, come down." Eliah answered the captain, "Well, if I am a man of God, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men." And the fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50 men. The king sent another captain with his company of the 50 men after Eliah. He shouted up and said, "Man of God, the king says, come down immediately." Eliah answered them, "If I am a man of God, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men." And the divine fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50 men. The king sent the third captain with a company of the 50 men. When the third captain had climbed the hill, he fell to his knees before Eliah. Pleading with him, he said, "Man of God, let my life and the lives of these 50 men, your servant, count for something in your sight. Already fire has come down from heaven, consuming the first two captains with their companies of 50 men. But now let my life count for something in your sight." Then the messenger of the Lord said to Eliah, "Go down with him, you need not be afraid of him." So Eliah left and went down with him to the kings. He declared to the king, "Thus says the Lord, because you sent a messenger to inquire of the Baal-zebul, the god of Ekron, do you think there is no God in Israel to inquire of? You shall not leave the bed upon which you lie, instead you shall die." Ahaziah died according to the word of the Lord spoken by Eliah. Since he had no son, Joram succeeded him as king in the second year of the Joram, son of the Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. The rest of the act of the Ahaziah, which he did as recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of the Israel. 2 Kings chapter 2, Eliah's journey. When the Lord was about to take Eliah up to heaven in the whirlwind, he and Elisha were on the way from Gilgal. Eliah said to Elisha, "Stay here, please, the Lord has sent me on the battle." Elisha replied, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. The guild prophet who were in Bethel went out to Elisha and asked him, "Do you know that today the Lord will take your master from you?" He replied, "Yes, I know that. Be still." Elijah said to him, "Elisha, stay here, please. The Lord has sent me on to the Jericho." Elisha replied, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So they came to Jericho. The guild prophet who were in Jericho approached Elisha and asked him, "Do you know that today the Lord will take your master from you?" He replied, "Yes, I know that. Be still." Elijah said to him, "Stay here, please. The Lord has sent me on to the Jordan." Elisha replied, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So the two went on together. 50 of the guild prophet followed and stood facing them at a distance, while the two of them stood next to the Jordan. Elisha succeeds Elijah. Elijah took his mantle, rolled it up, and struck the water. It divided, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. When they had crossed over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Request whatever I might do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha answered, "May I receive a double portion of your spirit?" He replied, "You have asked something that is not easy. Still, if you see it taken off from you, your wish will be granted, otherwise not." As they walked on still conversing, a fiery chariot and fiery horses came between the two of them, and Elijah went up to the heaven in a whirlwind. And Elisha saw it happen. He cried out, my father, Israel's chariot and steeds." Then he saw him no longer. He gripped his own garment, tore it into 2 pieces, and picked up the mantle which had fallen from Elijah. Then he went back and stood at the bank of the Jordan. Wielding the mantle which had fallen from Elijah, he struck the water and said, "The Lord God of Elijah, where is he now?" He struck the water, it divided, and he crossed over. Elisha journeys. The guild prophet in Jericho who were on the other side saw him and said, "The spirit of the Elijah rests on Elisha." They went to meet him, bowing to the ground before him. They said, "Among your servants are 50 brave men. Let them go in search of your master. Perhaps the Spirit of the Lord has lifted him up and left him on some mountain or in some valley." He answered, "Do not send them." But they kept urging him until he was embarrassed and said, "Send them." So they sent the 50 men, who searched for 3 days without finding him. When they returned to Elisha in Jericho, where he was staying, he said to them, "Did I not tell you not to go?" The inhabitants of the city complained to Elisha, "The side of the city is fine indeed, as my lord can see, but water is bad and the land sterile." Elisha said, "Bring me a new bowl and put salt into it." When they had brought it to him, he went out to the spring and threw salt into it, saying, "Thus says the Lord, I have purified this water. Never again shall death of sterility come from it." And the water has stayed pure even to this day, according to the word Elisha had spoken. From there, Elisha went up to the Bethel. While he was on the way, some little boys came out of the city and jeered at him, "Go away, Bethelites, go away, Bethelites." The prophet turned and saw him, and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 she-bearers came out of the wood and tore 42 of the children to pieces. From there he went to the mountain Carmel and returned to Samaria from there. 2 Kings chapter 3 is the reign of the Joram of the Israel. Joram son of the Ahab became king over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of the Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, though not like his father and mother. He did away with the beloved Baal that his father has made. But he still held fast unceasingly to the sins which Jeroboam son of the Nebat caused Israel to commit. War against Moab drought. Now Mesha, king of the Moab, who raised the sheep, used to pay the king of the Israel as a tribute 100,000 lambs and the wool of the 100,000 lambs. But when Ahab died, the king of the Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. King Joram set out from Samaria and mustered all Israel. Then he sent Jehoshaphat, the king of the Judah, the message, "The king of the Moab has rebelled against me. Will you come with me to Moab to fight?" He replied, "I will, you and I as one, your people and my people, and your horses and my horses as well." He said, "By what route shall we attack?" And the others said, "By way of the wilderness of the Edoms." So the king of the Israel set out, accompanied by the king of the Judah and the king of the Edom. After a roundabout journey of the 7 days, the water gave out for army and for the animals with them. The king of Israel exclaimed, "Alas, the Lord has called the three kings together only to deliver us into the power of the Moabs." But Jehoshaphat asked, "Is there no prophet of the Lord here through whom we may inquire of the Lord?" One of the servants of the king of the Israel replied, "Elisha, son of the Shaphat, who poured the water on the hands of the Elijah, is here." Jehoshaphat agreed, "He has a word of the Lord." So the king of the Israel, along with the Jehoshaphat and the king of the Edom, went down to the Elisha. Elisha asked the king of Israel, "What do you want with me? Go to the prophet of your father and to the prophet of your mother." The king of Israel replied, "No, the Lord has called these three things together only to deliver us into the power of the Moab." Then Elisha said, "As the Lord of the host lives, whom I serve, were it not that I respect Jehoshaphat, the king of the Judah, I should neither look at you nor notice you at all. Now get me a minstrel." When the minstrel played, the hand of the Lord came upon Elisha. And he announced, "Thus said the Lord, provide many catch basins in these wadis. For the Lord says, though you will see neither wind nor rain, yet this water will be filled with water for you to drink, and for your livestock and the pack animals." And since the Lord does not consider this enough, he will also deliver Moab into your power. You shall destroy every fortified city and every choice city, fell every fruit tree, stop up all the springs, and ruin every fertile field with stones. In the morning, at the time of the sacrifice, water came from the direction of Edom and filled the land. Meanwhile, all Moab had heard that the kings had come to war against them. Troops from the youngest on up were mobilized and stationed at the borders. When they rose early that morning, the sun was shining across the water. The Moabites saw the water as red as blood, and said, "This is the blood the kings have fought among themselves and killed one another. Quick to the spoils of Moab." But when they reached the camp of the Israelites rose and attacked the Moabites, who fled from them. They ranged through the countryside, destroying Moab, leveling the city, each one casting the stone onto every fertile field and filling it, stopping up every spring, felling every fruit trees, until only the stone of the Rassas remained. Then the slingers surrounded and attacked it. When he saw that the battle was going against him, the king of Moab took 700 sword men to break through to the king of the Edom, but he failed. So he took his firstborn who was to succeed him as king and offered him as a burnt offering upon the walls. The rest against Israel was so great that they gave up the siege and returned to their own land. 2 Kings chapter 4, the widow's oils. A certain woman, the widow of the one Gil the prophet, cried out to Elisha, "My husband, your servant, is dead. You know that he revered the Lord, yet now this creditor has come to take my 2 children into servitude." Elisha answered her, "What am I due to for you? Tell me what you have in the house." She replied, This servant of yours has nothing in the house but a jug of the oil." He said, "Go out the bottle vessel from all your neighbors, as many empty vessels as you can. Then come back and close the door on yourself and your children. Pour the oil into all the vessels, and as each is filled, set it aside." So she went out, she closed the door on herself and her children, and as they handed her the vessels, she would pour in oils. When all the vessels were filled, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." He answered, "There is none left," and then the oil stopped. She went and told the man of God, who said, "Go sell the oil to pay off your creditors. With what remains, you and your children can live." Elisha raised the Shunammite sons. One day Elisha came to Shunem, where there was a woman of the influence who pressed him to dine with her. Afterwards, whenever he passed by, he would stop there to dine. So she said to her husband, "I know that he is a holy man of the God, since he visits us often. Let us arrange a little room on the roof and furnish it for him with a bed, a table, chair, and a lamp, so that when he comes to us, he can stay there." One day Elisha arrived and stayed in the room overnight. Then he said to his servant Gehazi, "Call this Shunammite woman." He did so, and when she stood before Elisha, he told Gehazi, "Say to her, you have troubled yourself greatly for us. What can we do for you? Can you say a good word for you to the king or to the command of the armies?" She replied, "I am living among my own peoples." Later, Elisha asked, "What can I for her?" Gehazi answered, "She has no son, and her husband is old." Elisha said, "Call her." He did so, and when she stood at the doors, Elisha promised that this time next year you will be cradling a baby son. She said, "My Lord, you are a man of God. Do not deceive your servant." Yet the woman conceived, and by the same time the following year she had given birth to a son, as Elisha had promised. And the child grew up healthy. One day the boy went out to his father among the reapers. He said to his father, my head, and his father said to the servant, "Carry him to his mother." The servant picked him up and carried him to his mother. He sat in her lap until noon and then died. She went upstairs and laid him on the bed of the man of God, closed the door on him. She went out and called to her husband, let me have one of the servant and the donkey. I must go quickly to the man of God, and I will be back." He asked, "Why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath." But she said, "It is all right." When the donkey was saddled, she said to her servant, "Read on, do not stop my donkey unless I tell you." She kept going till she reached the man of God on the mountain Carmel. When he saw her at the distance, The man of God said to his servant Gehazi, there is the Shunammite. Hurry to meet her and ask if everything is all right with her husband and with the boy. Everything is all right, she replied. But when she reached the man of God on the mountain, she clasped his feet. Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of the God said, let her alone. She is in bitter anguish. The Lord hid it from me and did not let me know. She said, did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, do not mislead me? He said to Gehazi, get ready for a journey, take my staff with you, be off. If you meet anyone, give no greeting, and if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff upon the boys. But the boy's mother cried out, as the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not release you. So he started back with her. Meanwhile, Gehazi had gone on ahead and had laid the staff upon the boy, but there was no sound, no response. He returned to meet Elisha and told him, the boy has not awakened. When Elisha reached the house, he found the boy dead, lying on the bed. He went in, closed the door on them both, and prayed to the Lord. Then he lay upon the child on the bed, placed his mouth upon the child's mouth, his eyes upon the eyes, and his hand upon the hands. As Elisha stretched himself over the child, the boy's flesh became warm. He arose, paced up and down the room, and then once more stretched himself over him. And the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, call the Shunammite. He called her, and she came to him, and Elisha said to her, take your son. She came in and fell at his feet in homage. Then she took her son and left. The poison stew. When Elisha returned to Gilgal, there was a famine in the land. Once when the Gilgal prophet was seated before him, he said to his servant, put a large pot on and make some vegetable stew for the Gilgal prophet. Someone went out into the field to gather herbs and found a wild vine, from which he picked a sackful of the poisonous wild gourds. On his return, he cut them up into the top of the vegetable stew without any boys knowing it. The stew was served, but when they began to eat it, they cried, "Man of God, there is a death in the pot," and they could not eat it. He said, "Bring some meal." He threw it into the pot and said, "Serve it to the people to eat." And there was no longer anything harmful in the pot. The barley loaves. A man came from Baal-Shalisha, bring the man of God the 20 barley loaves made from the first fruit and the first grain in the ear. Elisha said, "Give it to the people to eat." But his servant objected, "How can I set this before 100? Elisha again said, "Give it to the people to eat, for thus said the Lord, you will eat and have some left over." He set it before them, and when they had eaten, they had some left over, according to the word of the Lord. 2 Kings chapter 4, the widow's oils. A certain woman, the widow of one of the Gilgal prophets, cried out to Elisha, "My husband, your servant, is dead. You know that he revered the Lord, yet now his creditor has come to take my 2 children into a servitude." Elisha answered her, "What am I to do for you? Tell me what you have in the house." She replied, "This servant of yours has nothing in the house but a jug of oil." He said, "Go out, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, as many empty vessels as you can." Then Come back and close the door on yourself and your children. Pour the oil into the oil the vessels, and as it is filled, set it aside. So she went out, she closed the door on herself and her children, and as they handed her the vessels, she would pour in oil. When all the vessels were filled, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." He answered, "There is none left," and then the oil stopped. She went and told the man of God, who said, "Go sell the oil to pay off your creditors. With what remains, you and your children can live." Elisha raised the Shunammite son. One day Elisha came to Shunem, where there was a woman of the influence who pressed him to dine with her. Afterwards, whenever he passed by, he would stop there to dine. So she said to her husband, "I know that he is a holy man of God, since he visits us often. Let us arrange a little room on the roof and furnish it for him with a bed, a table, chair, and a lamp, so that when he comes to us, he can stay there." One day Elisha arrived and stayed in the room overnight. Then he said to his servant Gehazi, "Call this Shunammite woman." He did so, and when she stood before Elisha, he told Gehazi, "Say to her, you have troubled yourself greatly for us. What can I do for you? Can you say a good word for you to the king or to the commander of the armies?" She replied, "I am living among my own peoples." Later, Elisha asked, "What can I do for her?" Gehazi answered, "She has no son, and her husband is old." Elisha said, "Call her." He did so, and when she stood at the door, Elisha promised, "This time next year you will be cradling a baby son." She said, "My Lord, you are a man of God. Do not deceive your servant." Yet the woman conceived, and by the same time the following year she had given birth to a son, as Elisha had promised. And the child grew up a healthy. One day the boy went out to his father among the reapers. He said to his father, my head, my head." And his father said to the servant, "Carry him to his mother." The servant picked him up and carried him to his mother. He sat in her lap until noon and then died. She went upstairs and laid him on the bed of the man of God. Closing the door on him, she went out and called to her husband, "Let me have one of the servants and the donkey. I must go quickly to a man of God, and I'll be back." He asked, "Why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath." But she said, "Is it all right?" When the donkey was saddled, she said to her servant, "Read on, do not stop my donkey unless I tell you." She kept going till she reached the man of God on the mountain Carmel. When he saw her at a distance, the man of God said to his servant Gehazi, "There is the Shunammite. Hurry to meet her and ask her if everything is all right with her husband, and with the boy." "Everything is all right," she replied. But when she reached the man of God on the mountain, she clasped his feet. Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of the God said, "Let her alone, she is bitter anguish. The Lord hid it from me and did not let me know." She said, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, 'Do not mislead me'?" He said to Gehazi, "Get ready for the journey, take me step with you, and be out. If you meet anyone, give no greetings, and if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my step upon the boy." But the boy's mother cried out, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not release you." So he started back with hers. Meanwhile, Gehazi had gone on ahead and had laid the staff upon the boy, but there was no sound, no response. He returned to meet Elisha and told him, "The boy has not awakened." When Elisha reached the house, he found the boy dead, lying on the bed. He went in, closed the door on them both, and prayed to the Lord. Then he lay upon the child on the bed, placing his mouth upon the child's mouth, his eyes upon the eyes, and his hand upon the hands. As Elisha stretched himself over the child, the boy's flesh became warm. He arose, paced up and down the room, and then once more stretched himself over him. And the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite." He called her, and she came to him. And Elisha said to her, "Take your son." She came in and fell at his feet in homage. Then she took her son and left. The poison stew. When Elisha returned to Gilgal, there was a famine in the land. Once, when the guild prophet was seated before him, he said to his servant, "Put the rice pot on and make some vegetable stew for the guild prophet." Someone went out into the field to gather herbs and found a wild vine, from which he picked a sackful of the poisonous wild gourds. On his return, he cut them up into the pot of the vegetable stew without anybody knowing it. The stew was served, but when they began to eat it, they cried, "Man of God, there is death in the pot," and they could not eat it. He said, "Bring some meal." He threw it into the pot and said, "Serve it to the people to eat." And there was no longer anything harmful in the pot. The barley loaves. A man came from Baal-Shalisha, bring the man of God 20 barley loaves made from the first fruit and the first grain in the ears. Elisha said, "Give it to the people to eat." But his servant objected, "How can I set this before 100? Elisha again said, "Give it to the people to eat, for thus said the Lord, you will eat and have some left over." He set it before them, and when they had eaten, they had some left over, according to the word of the Lord. 2 Kings chapter 5. Elisha cures Naaman's leprosy. Naaman, the army commander of the king of the Aram, was highly esteemed and respected by his master, for through him the Lord had brought the victory to Aram. But valiant as he was, the man was a leper. Now the Arameans had captured from the land of the Israel in a raid a little girl who became a servant of the Naaman's wives. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would present himself to the prophet in the Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went and told his master, "This is what the girl from the land of Israel said." The king of Aram said, "Go, I'll send along the letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman set out, taking along 10 silver talents, 6,000 gold pieces, and 10 festal garments. He brought the king of Israel the letter, which read, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When he read the letter, the king of Israel tore his garment and exclaimed, "Am I a God with power over life and death, that this man should send someone for me to cure him of leprosy? Take note, you can see he is only looking for the quarrel with me." When Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had torn his garment, he sent the word to the kings, "Why have you torn your garment? Let me come to me and find out that there is a prophet in Israel." Naaman came with his horses and the chariot and stopped at the door of the Elisha's house. Elisha sent him the message, "Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will heal, and you will be cleansed." But Naaman went away angry, saying, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand there to call on the name of the Lord his God, and would move his hand over the place and thus cure the leprous spot. Another rivers of the Damascus, the Abana and the Pharpar, are better than all the world of the Israel. Could I not wash in them and be cleansed? With this he turned about in anger and left. But his servant came up and reasoned with him, "My father, if the prophet told you to do something extraordinary, would you not do it? All the more since he told you, wash and be clean." So Naaman went down and plunged into the Jordan 7 times, according to the rule of the man of God. His flesh became again like the flesh of the little child, and he was clean. He returned with his whole retinue to the man of God. On his arrival, he stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Please accept the gift from your servant." Elisha replied, "As the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will take it." And despite Naaman's urging, he still refused. Naaman said, "If you will accept, please let me, your servant, have 2 more loads of earth. For your servant will no longer make a burnt offering and sacrifice to any other god except the Lord. But may the Lord forgive your servant this, when my master entered the temple of the Rimmon to bow down there. As he leans upon my arms, I too must bow down in the temple of the Rimmon. When I bow down in the temple of the Rimmon, may the Lord please forgive your servant this." Elisha said to him, "Go in peace." Naaman had gone some distance. When Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, thought to himself, "My master was too easy on this Aramean Naaman, not accepting what he brought. As the Lord lives, I run after him and get something out of him." So Gehazi hurried after Naaman, seeing that someone was running after him. Naaman alighted from his chariot to wait for him. He asked, "Is everything all right?" Gehazi replied, "Yes, but my master sent me to say, 2 young men have just come to me, Gil the prophet from the hill country of the Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 12 vesture and garments." Naaman said, "I insist, take 2 talents," and he pressed him. He tied up 2 silver talents in bag and gave them, with 12 vesture garments, to 2 of his servants who carried them before Gehazi. When he reached the hill, Gehazi received these things, appropriated them for his house, and sent the men on their ways. He went in and stood by Elisha his master, who asked him, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" He answered, "Your servant has not gone anywhere." But Elisha said to him, "Was I not present in spirit when someone got down from his chariot to wait for you? Is this the time to take money or to take garments, olive orchards or vineyards, sheep or cattle, male or female servants? The leprosy of the Naaman shall cling to you and your descendant forever." And Gehazi went out the leper with skin like snow. 2 Kings chapter 6, the lost axe. The good prophet once said to Elisha, "This place where he lived with you is too cramped for us. Let us go to the Jordan, where by getting 1 beam apiece we can build ourselves a place to live." Elisha said, "Go." One of them requested, "Please agree to accompany your servant." He replied, "Yes, I'll come." So we went with them, and when they arrived at the Jordan, they began to cut down trees. While one of them was felling a tree trunk, the iron axe blade slipped into the water. He cried out, "Oh, no, master, it was borrowed." "Where did it fall?" asked the man of God. When he pointed out the spot, Elisha cut out the stick, threw it into the water, and brought the iron to the surface. He said, "Pick it up," and the man stretched out his hand and grasped it. The Arameans ambush. When the king of Aram was waging war on the Israel, he would make plans with his servant. "I'll bivouac at such and such a place." But the man of God would send the word to the king of the Israel, "Be careful, do not pass by this place, for Aram will attack theirs." So the king of Israel would send the word to the place which the man of God had indicated and alert it. Then they would be on guard. This happened several times. Greatly disturbed over this, the king of Aram called together his officials and asked them, "Will you not tell me who among us is for the king of Israel?" "No one, my lord king," answered one of the officials. "The Israelite prophet Elisha can tell the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedrooms." He said, "Go find out where he is so that I may take him captive." Informed that Elisha was in Dothan, he sent their strong force with horses and chariot. They arrived by night and encircled the city. Early the next morning, when the servant of the man of God arose and went out, he saw the force with its horses and chariot surrounding the city. Alas, he said to Elisha, "What shall we do, my lord?" Elisha answered, "Do not be afraid, our side outnumbers theirs." Then he prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And the Lord opened the eyes of the servant, and he saw that the mountainside was filled with the fiery chariot and horses around Elisha. When Arameans came down to get him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, "Strike these people blind, I pray you." And the Lord struck them blind according to Elisha's word. Then Elisha said to them, "This is a long road and this is a long city. Follow me, I'll take you the man you want." And he led them to Samaria. When they entered Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open their eyes that they may see." The Lord opened their eyes, and they saw that they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he asked, "Shall I kill them, my father? Shall I kill them?" Elisha replied, "You must not kill them. Do not you slay those whom you have taken captive with your sword or bow. Serve them a meal, let them eat and drink, and then go back to their master." The king spread a great feast for them. When they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went back to their master. No more Arameans, the raiders, came into the land of the Israel. War against Aram means. After this, Ben-Hadad, king of the Aram, marshaled his whole army and raided siege to Samaria. Because of the siege, the famine in Samaria was so severe that donkeys had sold for 80 pieces of the silver, and the horse of the cab of dove dropping for 5 pieces of the silver. One day, as the king Israel was working on the city walls, a woman cried out to him, "Save us, my lord king." He replied, "If the Lord does not save you, where could I find means to save you? On the threshing floor, in the wine press?" Then the king asked her, "What is your trouble?" She replied, "This man said to me, 'Give up your son that we may eat him today. Then tomorrow we'll eat my son.' So we boiled my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, 'Now give up your son that you may eat him.' But she hid her son. When the king heard the woman's words, he tore his garment, and as he was working on the wall, the people saw that he was wearing sackcloth underneath next to his skin. The king exclaimed, "May God do this to me and more if the head of the Elisha, son of the Shaphat, stays on him 2 days." Meanwhile, Elisha was sitting in his house in conference with the elders. The king had sent one of his courtiers. But before the messenger reached him, Elisha said to the elders, "Do you know that this murderer is sending someone to cut off my head? When the messenger comes, see that you close the door and hold it fast against him. His master's footsteps are echoing behind him." While Elisha was still speaking, the messenger came down to him and said, "This evil is from the Lord. Why should I trust in the Lord any longer?" 2 Kings chapter 7. Elisha replied, "Hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, at this time tomorrow, a seah of the fine flour will sell for shekels, and 2 seahs of the barley for a shekel in the market of the Samaria." But the adjutant upon whose arm the king reigned answered the man of God, "Even if the Lord were to make windows in heaven, how could this happen?" Elisha said, "You shall see it with your own eyes, but you shall not eat of it." At the city gate, the 4 lepers were asking one another, "Why should we sit here until we die? If we decide to go into the city, we shall die there, for there is a famine in the city. If we remain here, we shall die too. So come, let us detour to the camp of the Arameans. If they let us live, we live. If they kill us, we die." At twilight they left for the Arameans, but when they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there. The Lord had caused the army of the Arameans to hear the sound of the chariot and horses, the sound of the large army, and they had reasoned among themselves, "The king of Israel has hired the king of the Hittites and the king of the Egypt to fight us." Then in the twilight they had fled, abandoning their tents, their horses, and their donkeys, the whole camp just as it was, and fleeing for their lives. After the lepers reached the edge of the camp, they went first into the one tent, ate and drank, and took silver, gold, and clothing from it, and went out and hid them. Back they came into another tent, took things from it, and again went out and hid them. Then they said to one another, "We are not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping silent. If we wait until morning breaks, we will be blamed. So come, let us go and inform the palace." They came and summoned the city gatekeepers. They said, "We went to the camp of the Arameans, but no one was there, not a human voice, only the horses and the donkeys' tethers, and the tents just as they were left." The gatekeepers announced this, and it was reported within the palace. Though it was night, the king got up. He said to his servant, "Let me tell you what the Arameans have done to us." Knowing that he was starving, they had left their camp to hide in the field. They are thinking, "The Israelites will leave the city, and we will take them alive and enter it." One of his servants, however, suggested, "Let some of us take 5 of the horses remaining in the city. They are just like the whole throne of the Israel that has reached its limit, and let us send the scout to investigate." They took the chariot and horses, and the king sent them to the reconnoiter to the Arameans' army with the order, "Go and find out." They followed the Arameans as far as the Jordan, and the whole route was strewn with garments and other objects that the Arameans had thrown away in their haste. The messenger returned and told the kings. The people went out and plundered the camp of the Arameans. Then the seah of the fine flour sold for 1 shekel, and 2 seahs of the barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. The king had put in charge of the gate the official upon whose arm he reigned, but the people trampled him to death at the gate, just as the man of God had predicted when the messenger came down to him. This was in accordance with the word the man of God spoke to the king, 2 seahs of barley will sell for a shekel, and the share of the fine flour for a shekel, at this time tomorrow in the market of Samaria. The adjutant had answered the man of God, even if the Lord were to make windows in heaven, how could this happen? And Elisha had replied, you shall see it with your own eyes, but you shall not eat of it. And that is what happened to him, for the people trampled him to death at the gate. 2 Kings chapter 8, the Shunammite returns. Elisha once said to the woman whose son he had restored to life, get ready, live with your household, and live wherever you can. Because the Lord has decreed 7 years of famine which is coming upon the land. The woman got ready and did as the man of God said, setting out with her husband, household, and living in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, the woman returned from the land of the Philistines and went out to the king to appear for her house and her field. The king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God. Tell me all the great things that Elisha has done. Just as he was telling the king how his master had restored a dead person to life, the very woman whose son Elisha had restored to life came to the king of the upfilling for her house and field. Gehazi said, my lord king, this is the woman, and this is that son of hers whom Elisha restored to life. The king questioned the woman, and she told him her story. With that, the king placed an official at her disposal, saying, restore all her property to her with all that the field produced from the day she left the land until now. Elisha and Hazael of Aram. Elisha came to Damascus at a time when Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, lay sick, when he was told the man of God has come here. The king said to Hazael, take a gift with you and go call on the man of God, consult the Lord through him. Will I recover from this sickness? Hazael went to the feasting carrying a present and with 40 camels, a load of the best good of the Damascus. On his arrival, he stood before Elisha and said, your son Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, has sent me to you to ask, will I recover from my sickness? Elisha answered, go and tell him, you will surely recover, but the Lord has showed me that he will surely die. Then he stared him down until he became ill at ease. The man of God wept. And Hazael asked, why are you weeping, my lord? Elisha replied, because I know the evil that you will inflict upon the Israelites. You will burn their fortresses, you will slay their youth with the sword, you will dash your little children to pieces, you will rip open their pregnant women. Hazael exclaimed, how can you servant a dog like me do anything so important? Elisha replied, the Lord has showed you to me as king over Aram. Hazael left Elisha and returned to his master, who asked, what did Elisha tell you? Hazael replied, he said, you will surely recover. The next day, however, Hazael took a cloth dipped in the water and spread it over the king's face, so that he died, and Hazael succeeded him as king. Reign of the Joram of the Judah. In the 5th year of the Joram, son of the Ahab, king of the Israel, Joram, son of the Jehoshaphat, king of the Judah, became king. He was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the king of the Israel, as the house of the Ahab had done, since the daughter of the Ahab was his wife. And he did what was evil in the Lord's sight. Even so, the Lord was unwilling to destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David, for he had promised David that he would leave him a holding in the Lord's presence for all time. During Joram's reign, Edom revolted against the ruler of the Judah and installed a king of its own. Thereupon Joram with all his chariot crossed over to Zairos. He arose by night and broke through the Edomites when they had surrounded him and the command of his chariot. Then his army fled homewards. To this day, Edom has been in revolt against the ruler of the Judah. Libnah also revolted at that time. The rest of the act of the Joram with all that he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Judah. Joram rested with his ancestor. He was buried with his ancestor in the city of David, and his son Ahaziah succeeded him as king. Reign of the Ahaziah of the Judah. In the 12th year of the Joram, son of the Ahab, king of Israel, Ahaziah, son of the Joram, king of Judah, became kings. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, daughter of the Omri, king of Israel. He walked in the way of the house of the Ahab and did what was evil in the Lord's sight like the house of the Ahabs, since he was related to them by marriage. He joined Joram, son of the Ahab, in battle against the Hazael, king of the Aram, at the Ramoth Gilead, where the Arameans wounded Joram. King Joram returned to the Jezreel to be healed of the wounds which the Arameans had inflicted on him at Ramah in his battle against the Hazael, king of the Aram. Then Ahaziah, son of the Joram, king of the Judah, went down to the Jezreel to visit Joram, son of the Ahab, for he was sick. 2 Kings chapter 9, Elisha and the zeal of the Israel. Elisha the prophet called one of the guild prophets and said to him, "Get ready for a journey, take the flask of the oil with you and go to Ramoth Gilead. When you get there, look for Jehu, son of the Shaphat, son of the Nimshi, enter and take him away from his companion and bring him into an inner chamber. From the flask you have pour oil on his head and say, 'Thus says the Lord, I anoint you king over Israel.' Then open the door and flee without delays." The prophet went to the Ramoth Gilead. When he arrived, the commander of the army was in session. He said, "I have a message for you," Commander Jehu asked. "For each one of us, for you, Commander," he answered. Jehu got up and went into the house. Then the prophet's aide poured the oil on his head and said, "Thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, I anoint you king over the people of the Lord over Israel. You shall destroy the house of the Ahab your master. Thus will I avenge the blood of my servant the prophet, and the blood of all the other servants of the Lord shed by Jezebel. The whole house of the Ahab shall perish. I'll cut off from Ahab line everywhere, whether bond or free in Israel. I'll make the house of the Ahab like that of Jeroboam, son of the Nebat, like that of the Baasha, son of the Ahijah. In the confines of the Jezreel, the dog shall devour Jezebel so that no one can bear it. Behold, then he opened the door and fled. When Jehu rejoined his master's servant, they asked him, "Is all well? Why did that madman come to you?" He replied, "You know that kind of man and his talk." But they said, "Tell us another lie." So he told them, "This is what the prophet said to me. Thus said the Lord, I anoint you king over Israel." At once each took his garment, spread it under Jehu on the barrel steps, blew the horn, and cried out, "Jehu is king." Death of the Joram of the Israel. Jehu, son of the Jehoshaphat, the son of the Nimshi, formed a conspiracy against Joram. Joram with all Israel had been besieging Ramoth Gilead against Hazael, king of Aram. but had returned to Jezreel to be healed of the wounds the Arameans had inflicted on him in the battle against Hazael, king of the Aram. Jehu said to them, "If this is what you really want, see that no one escapes from the city to report to in Jezreel." Then Jehu mounted his chariot and drove to Jezreel, where Joram lay ill and Ahaziah, king of Judah, had come to visit him. The watchman standing on the tower in the Jezreel saw the troop of the Jehu coming and reported, "I see chariot." Joram said, "Get a drive and send him to meet them and to ask whether all is well." So a horseman went out to meet him and said, the king asked, "Is everything all right?" Jehu said, "What does it matter to you how things are?" "Get behind me," the watchman reported to the king. "The messenger has reached them, but is not returning." Joram sent a second horseman who went to them and said, the king asks, "Is everything all right? What does it matter to you how things are?" Jehu replied, "Get behind me." The watchman reported he has reached them, but is not returning. The driving is like that of Jehu, son of the Nimshi. He drives like a madman. "Hitch up my chariot," said Joram, and they hitched up his chariot. Then Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, set out, each in their own chariot, to meet Jehu. They reached them near the plot of the ground of the Naboth the Jezreelite. When Joram recognized Jehu, he asked, "Is everything all right, Jehu?" Jehu replied, "How could everything be all right as long as all the harlotries and the sorcery of your mother Jezebel continues?" Joram reigned about and fled, crying to Ahaziah, "Treason, Ahaziah!" But Jehu had drawn his bow and he shot Joram between the shoulders, so that the arrow went through his heart and he collapsed in his chariot. Then Jehu said to his adjutant Bidkar, "Take him and throw him into the plot of the ground in the field of the Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember when you and I were driving him behind Ahab his father, the Lord delivered this oracle against him. As surely as I saw yesterday the blood of the Naboth and the blood of his sons, the oracle of the Lord, I will repay you for it in that very plot of the ground. Oracle of the Lord, so now take him and throw him into the plot of the ground, in keeping with the word of the Lord." Death of the Ahaziah of Judah. Seeing what was happening, Ahaziah, king of the Judah, fled toward the Beth Hagan. Jehu pursued him, shouting him too. They struck him as he rode through the pass of the Gur near Ephraim, but he continued his flight as far as Megiddo and died there. His servant brought him in a chariot to Jerusalem, and they buried him in his grave with his ancestors in the city of David. In the 11th year of the Joram, son of Ahab, Ahaziah became king over Judah. Death of the Jezebel. Jehu came to Jezreel, and when Jezebel heard of it, she shadowed her eyes, adorned her hair, and looked down from her windows. As Jehu came through the gate, she cried out, "Is all well, you Zimri, murderer of your master?" Jehu looked up to the window and shouted, "Who is on my side?" Who? At this, 2 or 3 eunuchs looked down toward him. "Threw her down," he ordered. They threw her down, and some of her blood spurted against the wall and against the horses. Jehu trod over her body. And after eating and drinking, he said, "Attend to that accursed woman and bury her, for she was the daughter of the king." But when they went to bury her, they found nothing of her but the skull, the feet, and the hands. They returned to Jehu, and when they told him, he said, "This is the word the Lord spoke through his servant Eliah the Tishbite. In the confines of the Jezreel, the dogs shall devour the flesh of the Jezebel." The course of the Jezebel shall be like dung in the field in the confines of the Jezreel, so that no one can say, this was Jezebel. 2 Kings chapter 10. Death of the son of the Ahab of Israel. Ahab had 70 sons in Samaria. Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the elders who were ruler of the Jezreel, and to the Ahab's guardian Jehu wrote, Since your master's sons are with you, as well as his chariot, the horses, fortified city, and weaponries, when this letter reached you, decide which is the best and the fittest of your master's sons, place him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house. They were overcome with a fright and said, If two kings could not withstand him, how can we? So the master of the palace and the chief of the city, along with the elder and the guardian, sent the message to Jehu. We are your servant, and we will do everything you tell us. We will proclaim no one kings to whatever you think best. So Jehu wrote them a second letter. If you are on my side and will obey me, bring along the head of your master's son and come to me in Jezreel at this time tomorrow. The 70 princes were in the care of the prominent men of the city who were rearing them. When the letter arrived, they took the princes and slew all 70 of them, put their heads in a basket, and sent them to Jehu in Jezreel. A messenger came in and told him, They have brought the head of the princes. He said, Pile them into heaps at the gate of the city until morning. In the morning he came outside, stood there, and said to all the people, You are guiltless. For it was I who conspired against my Lord and slew him. But who killed all this? Know that not a single word which the Lord has spoken against the house of the Ahab shall fail. The Lord has accomplished what he decreed through his servant Elijah. And so Jehu slew all who were left of the house of the Ahab in Jezreel, as well as all these powerful supporters, intimate and priests, leaving him no survivors. Then he went back inside the death of the relative of the Isaiah of the Judah. He set out for Samaria and Beth Iked Haroim on the way. Jehu came across the relative of the Isaiah, king of Judah. Who are you? He asked, and they said, You are a relative of the Isaiah. We are going down to visit the princess and the family of the queen mother. Take them alive, Jehu ordered. They were taken alive, 42 in numbers, then slain at the pit of the Beth Iked. Not one of them survived. When he set out from here, Jehu met Nab, son of the Rechab. On the road, he greeted him and asked, Are you with me wholeheartedly as I am with you? Yes, he replied. If you give you your hand, he gave him his hand, and he had him mount his chariot, and said, Come with me and see my zeal for the Lord. And they took him along in the chariot, slaughter of the worshipper of Baal. When he arrived in Samaria, Jehu slew all who were left or Ahab lying in Samaria, doing away with them completely, according to the word the Lord spoke to Elijah. Jehu gathered all the people together and said to them, Ahab served Baal to some extent, but Jehu will serve him yet more. Now summon for me all Baal's prophet, all his servant, and all his priests. See that no one is absent, for I have great sacrifice for Baal. Whoever is absent shall not live. This Jehu did as a ruse, so that he might destroy the servant of the Baal. Jehu said, further proclaim a solemn assembly in honor of the Baal. They did so. And Jehu sent the word of it throughout all Israel. All the servants of the Baal came. There was no one who did not come. They came to the people of the Baal, and it was a varied from word to word. Then Jehu said to custodian of the wardrobes, bring out the garment for all the servants of the Baal. When he had brought out the garment for them, Jehu with Nab, son of the Rechab, entered the temple of the Baal and said to the servants of Baal, search and be sure that there is no one who served the Lord here with you, but only servants of Baal. Then they proceeded to offer sacrifice and the burnt offering. Now Jehu had stationed 80 troops outside with this warning. Any of you who let someone escape of those whom I shall deliver into the hands shall pay life for life. As soon as he finished the offering, the burnt offering, Jehu said to the guards and aides, go in and slay them, let no one escape. So the guards and the aides put them to the sword and cast them out. Afterward, they went out in inner shrine of the temple of the Baal, and took out the pillar of the temple of the Baal. They burned the shrine, tore down the pillar of the Baal, tore down the temple of the Baal, and turned into the latrines as it remains today. Thus Jehu destroyed the Baal in Israel. Death of the Jehu of the Israel. However, Jehu did not desist from the sins which the Jeroboam son of the Nebat had caused Israel to commit, to golden calves at the Bethel and at Dan. The Lord said to Jehu, because you have done what is right in my eyes, and have done to the house of the Ahab all that was in my heart, your son to the fourth generation shall sit upon the throne of the Israel. But Jehu was not careful to walk in the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart, since he did not desist from the sins which Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. At that time the Lord began to dismember Israel. Hazael defeated the Israelites throughout their territories. East of Jordan, at all the land of the Gilead, of the Gadite, the Reubenite, and the Manassite, from Aroer on the Wadi Arnon up through the Gilead and the Bashan. The rest of the act of Jehu, with all that he did and all his valor, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the King of Israel. Jehu rested with his ancestors and was buried in Samaria, and his son Jehoahaz succeeded him as king. The ranks of the Jehu reign over Israel was 28 years in Samaria. 2 Kings chapter 11, death of the heirs of the Isaiah of the Judah. When the Athaliah, the mother of the Isaiah, saw that her son was dead, she began to kill off the whole royal family. But Jehosheba, daughter of the king Joram and the sister of the Isaiah, took the Joash, Isaiah's son, and spirited him away, along with his nurse, from the bedroom where the princes were about to be slain. He was concealed from Athaliah, and so he did not die. For 6 years he remained hidden with her in the house of the Lord, while Athaliah ruled as king over the land. Death of the Athaliah. But in the 7th year, Jehoiada summoned the captain of the guardians and of the guards. He had them come to him in the house of the Lord, made a covenant with them, exacted the oaths from them in the house of the Lord, and then showed them the king's son. He gave them these orders: this is what you must do. 1/3 of you who come on duty on the Sabbath shall guard the king's house. Another third shall be at the gate of Saul, and the rest third shall be at the gate behind the guards. You shall guard the palace on all sides, while the 2 of your division who are going off duty that week shall keep guard over the house of the Lord for the kings. You shall surround the king, each with the drawn weapons, and anyone who tries to approach the guards, detail is to be killed. stay with the king wherever he goes. The captain did just as Jehoiada the priest commanded. He took his troops, both those going on duty for the week and those going off duty that week, and came to Jehoiada the priest. He gave the captain King David the spear and the quill horse which were in the house of the Lord. And the guards with drawn weapons lying up from the southern to the northern rim of the enclosure surround the altar and the temple of the king's behalf. Then Jehoiada brought out the king's son and put the crown and the testimony upon him. They proclaimed him king and anointed him, clapping their hands and shouting, "Long live the king." When Athaliah heard the noise made by the people, she came before them in the house of the Lord. When he saw the king standing by the columns, as was the custom, and the captain and the trumpeters near the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets, Athaliah tore her garment and cried out, "Treason, treason." Then Jehoiada the priest instructed the captain in the command of the force, "Escort her with the guard details. If anyone follows her, let me die by the sword." For the priest has said she must not die in the house of the Lord. So they seized her, and when she reached the horse gate of the king's house, she was put to death. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and the peoples, by which they would be the Lord's peoples, and another between the king and the peoples. Thereupon all the people of the land went to the temple of the Baal and demolished it. They shattered its altars and the images completely, and slew maidens. The priest of the Baal before the altars, Jehoiada the priest appointed a detachment for the house of the Lord, and took the captain, the Chaldeans, the guards, and all the people of the land, and they led the king down from the house of the Lord. They came through the guards, came to the king's house, and Joash took his seat on the royal throne. All the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet now that Athaliah had been slain with the sword at the king's house. 2 Kings chapter 12, reign of the Joash of the Judah. Joash was 7 years old when he became king. In the 7th year of the Zehu, Joash became king, and he reigned 40 years in the Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibliah from Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the Lord's sight as long as he lived, because Jehoiada the priest guided him. Though the high place did not disappear, the people continued to sacrifice and to burn incense on the high places. Joash said to the priest, "All the funds for the sacred purpose that are brought to the house of the Lord, the census tax, personal redemption money, and all funds that are freely brought to the house of the Lord. The priests they may take for themselves, each from its own vendor. However, they must make whatever repairs on the temple may prove necessary." Nevertheless, as late as the 23rd year of the reign of the king Joash, the priest had not made the needed repairs on the temples. Accordingly, King Joash summoned the priest Jehoiada and the other priests. He asked, "Why do you not repair the temples? You must no longer take funds from your vendors, but you shall turn them over for the repairs." So the priests agreed that they would need to take funds from the people, nor make the repairs on the temples. Jehoiada the priest then took a chest, bored a hole in its lid, and set it beside the altar on the right as one entered the house of the Lord. The priest who kept the doors would put into it all the silver that was brought to the house of the Lord. When they noticed that there was a large amount of the silver in the chest, the royal scribe would come up with the high priest, and they would gather up and weigh all the silver that was in the house of the Lord. The amount thus realized that turned over to the workers assigned to the house of the Lord. They in turn would pay it to the carpenters and the builders working in the house of the Lord, and to the mason and the stone cutters, and for the purchase of the wood and the hewn stone used in repairing the breaches, and for any other expenses that were necessary to repair the house of the Lord. None of the valuable brought to the house of the Lord were used there to make silver basins, snuffers, bowls, trumpet, and any gold and silver articles. Instead, they were given to the workers, and with them they repaired the house of the Lord. Moreover, no reckoning was asked of those who were provided with the funds to give to the workers, because they have a position of trust. The funds from the reparation offering and from purification offering, however, were not brought to the house of the Lord. They belonged to the priest. Then Hazael, king of the Aram, came up and attacked the Gads. When he had taken it, Hazael resolved to go on to the attack on Jerusalem. Joash, king of the Judah, took all the sacred offering presented by his forebearers, Jehoshaphat, Jeroham, and Ahaziah, king of the Judah, as well as his own, and all the gold there was in the treasure of the house of the Lord and the king's house, and sent them to the king Hazael of the Aram, who then turned away from Jerusalem. The rest of the act of the Joash, with all that he did, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Judah. Certain of his officials entered into the conspiracy and struck Joash down at the Beth Millo. Jozachar, son of the Shimei, and Jehozabad, son of the Shomer, were in the official who struck and killed him. He was buried with his ancestor in the city of David, and his son Amaziah succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 13, reign of the Jehoahaz of Israel. In the 23rd year of the Joash, son of the Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, son of the Zeus, became king over Israel in Samaria for 17 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He did not depart from following the sins that was Jeroboam, son of the Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. The Lord was angry with Israel, and for a long time gave them into the power of the Hazael, king of the Aram, and of the Ben-Hadad, son of the Hazaels. Then Jehoahaz re-entreated the Lord, who heard him, since he saw the oppression to which the king of the Aram had subjected Israel. So the Lord gave Israel a savior, and the Israelites, freed from the power of the Aram, dwelt in their own tents as formerly. Nevertheless, they did not desist from the sins the house of the Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit, but persisted in them. The Asherah remained even in Samaria. No army was left on the Jehoahaz except 50 horses with 10 chariots and 10,000 foot soldiers, since the king's Aram had destroyed them and trampled them like dust. The rest of the act of the Jehoahaz, with all that he did and his valor, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Israel. Jehoahaz rested with his ancestors. He was buried in Samaria, and his son Joash succeeded him as king. Reign of the Joash of Israel. In the 37th year of the Joash, king of the Judah, Joash, son of the Jehoahaz, became king over Israel in Samaria 16 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He did not desist from any of the sins Jeroboam, son of the Nebat, had caused Israel to commit, but persisted in them. The rest of the act of the Joash, with all that he did and his valor, and how he fought with Amaziah, king of the Judah, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Israel. Joash rested with his ancestors. Then Jeroboam sat on his throne. Joash was buried in the Samaria with the kings of the Israel. Elisha deathbed prophecy. When Elisha was suffering from the sickness of which he was to die, Joash, king of Israel, went down to weep over him. my father, he exclaimed, Israel chariot and steeds. Elisha said to him, take bow and arrows, and he took bow and arrows. Elisha said to the king of Israel, rest your hand on the bow, and he rested his hand on it. Elisha placed his hand over the king's hands, and said, open the window toward the east. He opened it. Elisha said, shoot, and he shot. He said, an arrow of the victor of the Lord, an arrow of the victor over Aram. You will beat Aram at the Arphak and finish him. Then he said to the king of Israel, take the arrows, which he did. Elisha said to the king of the Israel, beat the ground. He beat the ground 3 times and stopped. The man of God became angry with him and said, you should have beat 5 or 6 times. You would have beaten Aram and finished him. Now you will beat Aram only 3 times. And so Elisha died and was buried. At that time of years, Benjamin the Moabite used to raid the land. Once some people were burying a man, when suddenly they saw such a raiding band. So they cast the man into a grave of Elisha, and everyone went out. But when the man came into contact with the bones of the Elisha, he came to the life and got to his feet. King Hazael of the Aram oppressed Israel all the day of the Jehoahaz. But the Lord was gracious with Israel and looked on them with compassion because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was unwilling to destroy them or to cast them out from his presence even up to now. So when King Hazael of the Aram died and his son Ben-Hadad succeeded him as king, Joash, son of the Jehoahaz, took back from Ben-Hadad, the son of the Hazael, the city Hazael had taken in battle from Jehoahaz, his father. 3 times Joash beat him and thus recovered the city of Israel. 2 Kings chapter 14, the reign of the Amaziah of the Judah. In the 2nd year of the Joash, son of the Jehoahaz, the king of Israel, Amaziah, son of the Joash, king of the Judah, became king. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoaddin from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the Lord's eyes, though not like David his father. He did not just as father Joash had done. Though the high place did not disappear, and the people continued to sacrifice and to burn incense on the high places. When Amaziah had the kingdom firmly in the hand, he struck down the official who had struck down the king, his father. But their children he did not put to death according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord commanded. Parents shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their parents. Only for one's own crime shall a person be put to death. Amaziah struck down 10,000 Edomites in the Salt Valley. He took Selah in the battle and renamed it Joktheres, the name it has to this day. Then Amaziah sent a messenger to Joash, son of the Jehoahaz, son of the Jehu, king of Israel, with this message, come, let us meet face to face. Joash, king of Israel, sent this reply to the Amaziah, king of the Judah, did the roots of the Lebanon send the word to the cedar of the Lebanon? Give your daughter to my son in marriage. But the animal of the Lebanon passed by and trembled the thistles underfoot. You have indeed struck down the Edom, and your heart is lifted up. Enjoy your glory, but stay home. Why bring misfortune and failure on yourself and on Judah with you? But Amaziah did not listen, so Joash, king of Israel, advanced, and he and Amaziah, king of Judah, met face to face at the Beth Shemesh of Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and all fled to their tents. But Amaziah, king of the Judah, son of the Joash, son of the Ahaziah, was captured by Joash, king of Israel, at the Beth Shemesh. When they came to Jerusalem, Joash threw down the wall of the Jerusalem from the gate of the Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. He took all the gold and silver and all the vessels found in the house of the Lord and in the treasure of the king's house, and the hostage as well. Then he returned to the Samaria. The rest of the act of Joash, what he did and his valor, how he made the war against Amaziah, king of Judah, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Israel. Joash rested with his ancestors. He was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel, and his son Jeroboam succeeded him as king. Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, survived Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, by 15 years. The rest of the act of Amaziah are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Judah. When a conspiracy was formed against him in Jerusalem, he fled to the Lachish, but he was pursued to the Lachish and killed there. He was brought back to the horses and was buried in Jerusalem with his ancestors in the city of David. Thereupon all the people of Judah took Azariah, who was only 16 years old, and made him king to succeed Amaziah his father. It was he who rebuilt the Elas and restored it to Judah after the king rested with his ancestors. Reign of Jeroboam II of Israel. In the 15th year of Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel, became king in Samaria for 1 years. He did evil in the Lord's sight. He did not desist from any of the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. He restored the boundaries of Israel from the river Hamas to the sea of the Arabah, as Lord the God of Israel had foretold through his servant, the prophet Jonah, son of Amittai, from Gath-Hefer. From the Lord saw the very bitter affliction of Israel, where there was neither bond nor fray, no one at all to help Israel. Since the Lord had not resolved to wipe out the name of Israel from under the heavens, he saved them through Jeroboam, son of Joash. The rest of the act of Jeroboam, with all that he did and his valor, how he fought, and how he regained Damascus and Hamas for Israel, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Israel. Jeroboam rested with his ancestors, the king of Israel, and his son Zechariah succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 15, Reign of the Azariah of Judah, Reign of the Azariah of Judah. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, became king. He was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zechariah from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the Lord's sight, just as his father Amaziah had done. Though the high place did not disappear, and the people continued to sacrifice and to burn incense on the high places. The Lord afflicted the king, and he was a leper until the day he died. He lived in a house apart, while Jotham the king's son was master of the palace and ruled the people of the land. The rest of the act of Azariah and all that he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Judah. Azariah rested with the ancestors and was buried with them in the city of David, and his son Jotham succeeded him as king. Reign of the Zechariah of Israel. In the 38 years of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, became king over Israel in Samaria for 6 months. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, as his ancestors had done, and did not desist from the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. Shallum, son of Jabez, plotted against him and struck him down at Iburim. He killed him as reigned in his place. As for the rest of the act of Zechariah, these are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Israel. This was the word the Lord had spoken to Zeus, son of Uriah, to the fourth generation shall sit upon the throne of Israel, and so it was. Reign of the Salom of Israel. Salom, son of the Jabesh, became king in the 39th year of the Uzziah, king of the Judah. He reigned 1 month in Samaria. Menahem, son of the Gad, came up from the Tirzah to the Samaria and struck down Salom, son of the Jabesh, in Samaria. He killed him and reigned in his place. As for the rest of the act of the Salom, with the conspiracy he carried out, these are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Israel. At that time, Menahem attacked the Tapua, all its inhabitants, and its whole district as far as the Tizrah. Because they did not let him in, he attacked them. He even leaped upon all their pregnant women. Reign of the Menahem of Israel. In the 39th year of the Azariah, king of the Judah, Menahem, son of the Gad, became king over Israel for 10 years in Samaria. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight as long as he lived, not desisting from the sins that Jeroboam, son of the Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. Paul, king of the Assyria, came against the land, but the Menahem gave Paul a sound talent of the silver to have his help in holding on his kingdoms. Menahem paid out the silver behalf of the Israel, that is, for all the people of the substance, by giving the king of the Assyria 50 shekels of the silver for each one. So the king of Assyria went home and did not stay in the land. The rest of the act of the Menahem, with all that he did, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Israel. Menahem rested with his ancestor, and his son Pekahiah succeeded him as king. Reign of the Pekahiah of Israel. In the 15th year of the Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, son of the Menahem, became king over Israel in the Samaria for 2 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, not desisting from the sin that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. He, the adjutant, the Pekah, son of the Remaliah, conspired against him and struck him down at Samaria with the palace stronghold. He had with him 50 men from Gilead. He killed him and reigned in his place. As for the rest of the act of the Pekahiah, with all that he did, these are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Israel. Reign of the Pekah of Israel. In the 52nd year of the Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, son of the Remaliah, became king over Israel in Samaria for 20 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, not desisting from the sin that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. In the day of the Pekah, king of the Israel, Tiglath-Pileser, king of the Assyria, came and took Idron, Abel-Beth-Makkah, Zeonah, Kadesh, Hazor, Gilead, and Gilead, all the land of the Naphtali, deporting the inhabitants to Assyria. Hoshea, son of the Elah, carried out the conspiracy against Pekah, son of the Remaliah. He struck and killed him, and succeeded him as king in the 20th year of the Jotham, son of the Uzziah. As for the rest of the act of the Pekah, with all that he did, these are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the King of the Israel. Reign of the Jotham of the Judah. In the 2nd year of the Pekah, son of the Remaliah, king of Israel, Jotham, son of the Uzziah, king of the Judah, became kings. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jerusha, daughter of the Zadok. He did what was right in the Lord's sight, just as his father Uzziah had done. Though the high place did not disappear, and the people continued to sacrifice and to burn incense on the high places, it was he who built the upper gate of the Lord's house. The rest of the act of the Jotham with what he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Judah. It was at that time that the Lord began to unleash the raging king of the Aram and the Pekah son of the Remaliah against Judah. And Jotham rested with his ancestor. He was buried with his ancestor in the city of David his father, and his son Ahaz succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 16, reign of the Ahaz of the Judah. In the 17th year of the Pekah, son of the Remaliah, Ahaz, son of the Jotham, king of Judah, became king. Ahaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. He did not do what was right in the sight of the Lord his God, as David his father had done. He walked in the way of the kings of the Israel. He even immolated his child by fire, in accordance with the abominable practice of the nation whom the Lord had dispossessed before the Israelites. Further, he sacrificed and burned incense on the high places, on hills, and on the evergreen trees. Then a rising king of the Aram and the Pekah son of the Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to the Jerusalem to attack it. Although they besieged Ahaz, they were unable to do better. In those days, the rising king of the Aram recovered the Elas for Aram and drove the Judahite out of it. The Edomite then entered the Elas, which they have occupied until the present. Meanwhile, Ahaz sent a messenger to Tir-Aras, king of the Assyria, with the praise, I am your servant and your son. Come up and rescue me from the power of the king of the Aram and the king of the Israel, who are attacking me. Ahaz took the silver and gold that were in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house, and sent them as a present to the king of the Assyria. The king of Assyria listened to him and moved against Damascus, captured it, deported its inhabitants to Kir, and put the regime to death. King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet the Tir-Last, king of the Assyria. When he saw the altar in Damascus, King Ahaz sent to Uriah the priest a model of the altar and a detailed design of its construction. Uriah the priest built an altar according to the plans which King Ahaz sent him from the Damascus, and had it completed by the time King Ahaz returned from Damascus. On his arrival from Damascus, the king inspected the altar. The king approached the altar, went up, and sacrificed his burnt offering and the grain offering, pouring out his libation and sprinkling the blood of his communion offering on the altars. The bronze altar that stood before the Lord has brought from the front of the temple, that is from the space between the new altar and the house of the Lord, and set it on the north side of his altar. King Ahaz commanded Uriah the priest upon the large altar sacrifice the morning burnt offering and the evening grain offering, the king's burnt offering and the grain offering, and the burnt offering and the grain offering of the people of the land. Their libation you must sprinkle on it along with all the blood of the burnt offering and the sacrifices, but the old bronze altar shall be mine for consultations. Uriah the priest did just as King Ahaz had commanded. King Ahaz detached the banners from the stand and removed the basin from them. He also took down the bronze seat from the bronze oxen that supported it, and set it on the stone pavement. In difference to the king of the Assyria, he removed the Sabbath canopy that had been set up in the house of the Lord and the king's outside the entrance to the temple. The rest of the act of the Ahaz with what he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Judah. Ahaz rested with the ancestor. He was buried with his ancestor in the city of David, and his son Hezekiah succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 17, reign of the Hosea of Israel. In the 12th year of the Ahaz, king of the Judah, Hosea son of the Elah became king in the Samaria over Israel for 9 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, yet not to extent of the kings of the Israel before him. Shalmaneser, king of the Assyria, advanced against him, and Hosea became his vassal and paid him tribute. But the king of the Assyria found Hosea guilty of the conspiracy of sending messenger to the king of the Egypt at the size, and for failure to pay the annual tribute to the king of the Assyria. So the king of the Assyria arrested and imprisoned him. Then the king of the Assyria occupied the whole land and attacked Samaria, which he besieged for 3 years. Israel deported. In Hosea's 9th year, the king of the Assyria took Samaria, deported the Israelites to the Assyria, and settled them in Hala and at the harbor olive of the Gozan, and in the city of the Medes. This came about because the Israelites sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them up from the land of the Egypt, from under the hand of the Pharaoh, king of Egypt. They venerated other gods. They followed the right of the nation whom the Lord had dispossessed before the Israelites, and those the king of Israel had practiced. They adopted an unlawful practice toward the Lord their God. They built high places in all their cities, from guard post to the garrison town. They set up Beulah and Asherahs for themselves on every high hill and under every green tree. They burned incense there on all high places, like the nation whom the Lord had sent into the exile at their coming. They did evil things that provoked the Lord, and served idols, although the Lord had told them, "You must not do this." The Lord warned Israel and Judah by every prophet and seer, "Give up your evil ways and keep my commandment and the statutes, in accordance with the entire law which I enjoined on your ancestors and which I sent you by my servant the prophet." But they did not listen. They grew as stiff-necked as their ancestors, who had not believed in the Lord their God. They rejected his statute, the covenant he had made with the ancestors, and the warning he had given them. They followed emptiness and became empty. They followed the surrounding nation, whom the Lord had commanded them not to imitate. They abandoned all the commandments of the Lord their God. They made for themselves 2 molten calves. They made an Asherah. They bowed down to the old host of the heaven. They served Baal. They immolated their son and daughter by fire. They practiced augury and divinations. They surrendered themselves to the doing what was evil in the Lord's sight, and provoked him. The Lord became enraged and removed them from the presence. Only the tribe of the Judah was left. The people of the Judah did not keep the commandment of the Lord their God, but followed the right practiced by Israel. So the Lord rejected the entire people of the Israel. He afflicted them and delivered them over to plunderers, finally casting them from his presence. When he tore Israel away from the house of David, they made Jeroboam son of the Nebat king. But the Jeroboam ruled the Israelites away from the Lord, causing them to commit great sins. Israel imitated Jeroboam in all the sin he committed. They would not depart from them. Finally, the Lord removed Israel from his presence, just as he had declared through all his servant, the prophet. Thus Israel went into the exile from their native soil to the Assyria until this very day. Foreigners deported to Israel. The king of Assyria brought people from the Babylon, Kudra, Alvara, Hamas, and Sepharvaim, and settled them in the city of the Samaria in the place of the Israelites. They took possession of the Samaria and dwelt in its cities. When they first settled there, they did not venerate the Lord, so he sent the lions among them. They killed some of them. A report reached the king of the Assyria. The nation you deported and settled in the city of the Samaria do not know the proper worship of the God of the land. So he was sent the lion among them that are killing them, since they do not know the law of the God of the land. The king of Assyria gave the order, send back some of the priests you deported to go there and settle, to teach them the proper worship of the God of the land. So one of the priests who had been deported from Samaria returned and settled in the Bethel, and began to teach them how to venerate the Lord. Thus each of these nations continued to make its own god, setting them up in the shrine of the high place that the Samaritan had made, each nation in the city in which they dwelt. The Babylonian made the Sukkot Binat, the people of the Kus made the Nergal, those from Hamas made the Ashma, those from Alba made the Nibhals and the Tarks, and those from the Sepharvaim immolated their children by fire to their city god, King Hadad and King Anus. At the same time, they were venerating the Lord, appointing from their own number priests of the high place to officiate for them in the shrine on the high places. They were both venerating the Lord and serving their own God. They followed the custom of the nation from among whom they had been deported. To this very day, they continue to act according to their former customs, not venerating the Lord, nor observing the statutes and the regulations, the law and commandment that the Lord enjoined on the descendant of the Jacob, whom he had named Israel. When the Lord made a covenant with them, he commanded them, you must not venerate other gods, now bow down to them, and nor serve them, nor offer sacrifice to them, but only to the Lord who brought you out from the land of Egypt with great power and outstretched arm. Him shall you venerate, to him shall you bow down, and to him shall you offer sacrifice. You must be careful always to observe the statute and the ordinance, the law and the commandment which he wrote for you. You must not venerate other gods. The covenant I made with you, you must not forget. You must not venerate other gods. You must venerate only the God you got. It is he who will deliver you from the power of all your enemies. But they did not listen. They continued to act according to their former customs. But these nations were both venerating the Lord and serving their own idols. Their children and the children's children are still acting like their ancestors to this very day. Kings chapter 18, reign of the Hezekiah. In the third year of the Hoshea, son of the Elah, king of the Israel, Hezekiah, son of the Ahaz, king of Judah, became king. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Abi, daughter of the Zechariah. He did what was right in the Lord's sight, just as David his father had done. It was he who removed the high places, shattered the pillars, cut down the Asherahs, and smashed the bronze serpent Moses had made, because up to that time the Israelites were burning incense to it. It was called Nehushtan. He put his trust in the Lord, the God of Israel, and neither before nor after him was there anyone like him among all the kings of Judah. Hezekiah held fast to the Lord and never turned away from following him, but observed the commandment the Lord had given Moses. The Lord was with him, and he succeeded in all he set out to do. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and did not serve him. It was he who struck the Philistines as far as the Gaza and all his territory from guard post to the garrison town. In the first year of the king Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of the Hoshea, son of the Elah, king of Israel, Salmaneshar, king of the Assyria, attacked Samaria and raised siege to it. And after 3 years they captured it. In 16th year of the Hezekiah, 9th year of the Hoshea, king of Israel, Samaria was taken. The king of Assyria then deported the Israelites to Assyria and led them up to the Hala and the harbor on the river of the Gozan and the city of the Medes. This happened because they did not obey the Lord their God, but violated his covenant. They did not obey nor do all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded. Sennacherib and Hezekiah. In the 14th year of the king Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of the Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of the Judah and captured them. Hezekiah, king of the Judah, sent this message to the king of the Assyria at the Lachish: I have done wrong, leave me, and whatever you impose on me I will bear. The king of the Assyria exacted 300 talents of the silver and 30 talents of the gold from Hezekiah, king of Judah. Hezekiah gave him all the funds there were in the house of the Lord and in the treasury of the king's house. At the same time, Hezekiah removed the nave doors and upright of the house of the Lord, which the king of the Judah had ordered to the overlaid with gold, and gave them to the king of the Assyria. The king of Assyria sent the general, the Lord Chamberlain, and the commander from the Lachish with a great army to the king Hezekiah at Jerusalem. They went up and came to Jerusalem to the conduit of the upper pool on the height of the fuller's field, where they took their stand. They called for the king, but Eliakim, son of the Hilkiah, the master of the palace, came out, along with the Shebna, the scribe, and the Chetzor, Joah, son of the Asaphos. The commander said to them, Tell Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of the Assyria, on what do you base this trust of the yours? Things mere words substitute for strategy and might in war. In whom then do you place your trust? Then you rebel against me? Do you trust in Egypt, that broken reed of the staff which pierces the hand of anyone who leans on it? That is what the Pharaoh king of Egypt is to all who trust in him. Or do you people say to me, it is in the Lord our God we trust? Is it not he whose high place and altars Hezekiah has removed, commanding Judah and Jerusalem, worship before this altar in Jerusalem? Now make a wager with my lord, the king of the Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you are able to put riders on them. How then can you turn back even a captain, one of the rich servants of my lord, trusting as you do in Egypt for chariot and horses? Did I come up to destroy this place without the Lord? The Lord himself said to me, Go up and destroy that land. Then Eliakim, son of the Hilkiah, and Shebna and Joah said to the commanders, Please speak to your servant in Aramaic. We understand it. Do not speak to us in the ranks of the Judah within earshot of the people who are on the wall. But the commander replied, Was it to your Lord and to you that my Lord sent me to speak these words? Was it not read to those sitting on the wall, who with you will have to eat their own excrement and drink their urines? Then the commander stepped forward and cried out in the loud voice in the language of the Judah, "Listen to the words of the great king, the king of the Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let the Hezekiah deceive you, for he cannot rescue you from my hand. And do not let Hezekiah induce you to trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely rescue us, and this city will not be handed over to the king of the Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of the Assyria, make peace with me and surrender to me. Eat each of you from your vine, each from your own fig trees, drinking water each from your own well, until I arrive and take you to a land like you own, a land of the grain and the wine, a land of the bread and the vineyards, a land of the rich olives and honey. Live and do not die, and do not listen to Hezekiah when he would incite you by saying, the Lord will rescue us. Has any of the God of the nation ever rescued his land from the power of the king of the Assyria? Where are the God of the Hamas and the Arpad? Where are the God of the Sepharvaim, Hina, and the Igvar? Did they indeed rescue Samaria from my power? Which of the gods for all this land ever rescued his land from my power? Will the Lord then rescue Jerusalem from my power? But the people remained silent and did not answer at all, for the king of command was, do not answer him. Then the master of the palace, Eliakim, son of the Hilkiah, Shaphanar, the scribe, and the chancellor Joah, son of the Aspar, came to the Hezekiah with the garment throne and reported to him the words of the commanders. Kings chapter 19, Hezekiah and Isaiah. When the king Hezekiah heard this, he tore his garment, covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. He sent the Eliakim, the master of the palace, Shaphanar, the scribe, and the elder of the priest, covered with the sackcloth, to tell the prophet Isaiah, son of the Amos. Thus says the Hezekiah, day of the distress and the rebuke, a day of the disgrace is this day. Children are due to come forth, but the strength to give birth is lacking. Perhaps the Lord your God will hear all the words of the commanders, whom his Lord the king of Assyria sent to taunt the living God, and will rebuke him for the words which the Lord your God will hold. So lift up the prayer for the remnant that is here. When the servant of the king Hezekiah had come to Isaiah, he said to them, tell this to your Lord, thus says the Lord, do not be frightened by the words you have heard, by which the deputies of the king of the Assyria have blasphemed me. I will bring in him such a spirit that when he hears a report he will return to his land. I will make him fall by the sword in his land. When the commanders on his return heard that the king of Assyria had withdrawn from the Lachish, he found him besieging Libnah, Sennacherib's, Hezekiah, and Isaiah. The king of Assyria heard the report. Tirhakah, king of the Ethiopia, has come out to the fight against you. Again he sent a messenger to Hezekiah to say, thus shall you say to Hezekiah, king of the Judah, do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you by saying, Jerusalem will not be handed over to the king of the Assyria. You certainly have heard what the king of the Assyria had done to all the land. They put them under the ban, and are you to be rescued? Did the God of the nation whom my father destroyed deliver them, Gozan, Haran, Lazab, or the Edenite in Telassar? Where the king of the Hamas, the king of the Arpad, or the king of the city of the Sepharvaim, Hina, and Igvar? Hezekiah took the letter from the hand of the messenger and read it. Then he went up to the house of the Lord and spreading it out before the Lord. Hezekiah prayed in the Lord's presence, the Lord God of Israel, enthroned on the cherubim. You alone are God over all the kingdom of the earth. It is you who made the heavens or the earth. Incline your ear, Lord, listen, open your eyes, Lord, and see. Hear the words Sennacherib has sent to the throne of the living God. Truly, O Lord, the king of Assyria had laid waste the nation and their lands. They gave their God to the fire. They were not God at all, but the work of the human hands, wood and stone. They destroyed them. Therefore, Lord our God, save us from this manpower, that all the kingdom of the Lord earth may know that you alone, Lord our God. Then Isaiah son of Amos sent the message of the Hezekiah, thus says the Lord, the God of the Israel, to whom you have prayed concerning Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have listened. This is the word the Lord has spoken concerning him. She despises you, laughs you to scorn, the virgin daughter of the Zion. And you she wags her head, Jerusalem. Whom have you insulted and blasphemed? At whom have you raised your voice, and lifted up your eyes on high at the Holy One of Israel? Through the mouths of your messengers you insulted the Lord when you said, with my many chariots I went up to the top of the peaks, to the recess of the Lebanon, to cut down its lofty cedars in choice cypresses. I reached to the farthest shelter, to forest ranges. I myself dug wells and drank foreign waters, drying up all the river of Egypt beneath on the sole of my feet. Have you not heard? A long time ago I prepared it, from days of old I planned it. Now I have brought it about. You are here to reduce a fortified city to the heap of the ruins. The people powerless, dismayed, and distraught. They are plants of the field, green growth, that's on the rooftops, grain scorched by east wind. I know when you stand or sit, when you come or go, and how you rage against me. Because you rage against me, and your smugness has reached my ears, I'll put my hook in your noise, and my bit in your mouth, and make you live by the way you can. This shall be a sign for you. This year you shall eat up the growth, next year what grows of itself. But in the third year sow and lay a plant in vineyard and eat their fruit. The remaining survivor of the house of the Judah shall again strike a root below and bear fruit above. For out of the Jerusalem shall come a remnant, and from Mount Zion survivors. The zeal of the Lord of hosts shall do this. Therefore thus says the Lord about the king, he shall not come as fight this city, nor shoot there an arrow, nor confront it with a sword, nor cast up a siege work against it. By the day he came, he shall live, never coming as fight this city, oracle of the Lord. I will shield and save this city for my own sake and the sake of the David my servant. That night the angel of the Lord went forth and struck down on the 105,000 men in the Assyrian camp. Early the next morning, there they were dead, all those corpses. Some Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, broke camp, departed, returned home, and strayed in Nineveh. When he was worshipping in the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Adramelech and Sharezer struck him down with the sword and fled into the land of the Ararat. His son Esarhaddon reigned in his place. 2 Kings chapter 20, end of the Hezekiah reign. In those days, when Hezekiah was mortally ill, the prophet Isaiah son of Amos came and said to him, Thus says the Lord, put your house in order, for you are about to die, you shall not recover. He turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. Our Lord, remember how faithfully and wholeheartedly I conduct myself in your presence, doing what is good in your sight. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. Before Isaiah had left the central courtyard, the word of the Lord came to him. Go back and tell Hezekiah, the leader of my people, thus says the Lord, the God of David your father. I have heard your prayer, I have seen your tears, now I am hearing you. On the third day you shall go to the house of the Lord. To your life 15 years I'll rescue you and this city from the hand of the king of the Assyria. I'll be assured to this city for my own sake and the sake of the David my servant. Then Isaiah said, bring 4 tithes of the fig and apply it to the boy for his recoveries. Hezekiah asked Isaiah, what is the sign that the Lord will hear me and that I shall go up to the house of the Lord on the third day? Isaiah replied, this will be a sign for you from the Lord that we will carry out the word he has spoken. Shall the shadow go forward and back 10 steps? It is easier for the shadow to advance 10 steps. Hezekiah answered, rather let it go back 10 steps. So Isaiah the prophet invoked the Lord. He made the shadow go back 10 steps. It had descended on the staircase to the terrace of the Ahaz. At the time, Berodach Baladan, son of the Baladan, king of the Babylon, sent the letter and gifted Hezekiah when he heard that he had been erased. Hezekiah listened to the envoys and showed off his whole treasury, his silver, gold, the spice and the perfume oil, his armory, and everything in his storerooms. There was nothing in his house and in all his realm that Hezekiah did not show them. Then Isaiah the prophet came to King Hezekiah and asked him, what did these men say to you? Where did they come from? Hezekiah replied, they came from distant land from Babylon. He asked, what did they see in your house? Hezekiah answered, they saw everything in my house. There is nothing in my storerooms that I did not show them. Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, hear the word of the Lord. The time is coming when all that is your house, everything that your ancestors have stored up until this day, shall be carried off the Babylon. Nothing shall be left, says the Lord. Some of your own descendants, your offspring, your progeny, shall be taken and made attendant in palace of the king of the Babylon. Hezekiah replied to Isaiah, the word of the Lord which you have spoken is good, for he saw that there will be peace and stability in my lifetime. The rest of the act of Hezekiah, with all his valor and how he constructed the pool and the conduit and brought water into the city, are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of the Judah. Hezekiah rested with his ancestors, and his son Manasseh succeeded him as king. Kings chapter 21, Reign of the Manasseh. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hephzibah. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, following the abominable practice of the nation whom the Lord had dispossessed before the Israelites. He rebuilt the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed. He set up altars to Baal and also made an Asherah. As Ahab king of Israel had done, he bowed down to the whole host of the heaven and served them. He built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord has said, in Jerusalem I will set my name. And he built the altars for the whole host of the heaven in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord. He immolated his child by fire. He practiced soothsaying and divination, and reintroduced the consulting of the ghost and spirit. He did much evil in the Lord's sight and provoked him to the angers. The Asherah idol he had made, he placed in the Lord's house, of which the Lord had said to David and to his son Solomon, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all tribe of the Israel, I shall set my name forever. I will no longer make Israel step out of the land I gave their ancestors, provided that they are careful to observe all I have commanded them, and the entire law which Moses my servant enjoined upon them. But they did not listen. Manasseh misled them into doing even great evil than the nation the Lord had destroyed at the coming of the Israelites. Then the Lord spoke through his servant the prophet. Because Manasseh king of Judah has practiced this abomination and has done great evil than all that was done by Amorite before him, and has led Judah into sin by his idols. Therefore, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I am about to bring such evil on Jerusalem and Judah, that when any hear of it, their ears shall ring. I will measure Jerusalem with the same cord as I did Samaria, and with the plummet I used for the house of the Arabs. I'll wipe Jerusalem clean as one wipes a dish, wiping it inside and out. I'll cast out the survivor of my inheritance. I'll deliver them into enemy hands to become prey and booty for all their enemies. Because they have done what is evil in my sight and provoked me from the day their ancestors came forth from Egypt until this very day. Manasseh shed so much innocent blood that it filled the length and the breadth of the Jerusalem, in addition to the sin he caused Judah to commit by doing what was evil in the Lord's sight. The rest of the act of the Manasseh, with all that he did and the sin he committed, are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of the Judah. Manasseh rested with his ancestors. He was buried in his palace garden, the garden of the Uzzah, and his son Amon succeeded him as king. Reign of Amon. Amon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Meshulames, daughter of the Haruz from Jotbah. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, as his father Manasseh had done. He walked in all the ways of his father. He served the idol his father had served, and bowed down to them. He abandoned the Lord, the God of his ancestors, and did not walk in the way of the Lord. Officials of the Ammon plotted against him and killed the king in his palace. But the people of the land then slew all who had plotted against King Ammon, and the people of the land made his son Josiah king in his stead. The rest of the act of the Ammon which he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of the Judah. He was buried in his own grave in the garden of the Uzzah, and his son Josiah succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 22, reign of the Josiah. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jedidah, daughter of the Adidar from Bochkas. He did what was right in the Lord's sight, walking in the way of David his father, not turning right or left. The book of the law. In the 18th year, King Josiah sent the scribe Shaphan, son of the Azariah, son of the Meshullam, to the house of the Lord with these orders. Go to the high priest Hilkiah and have him calculate the value that has been brought to the house of the Lord, which the doorkeepers have collected from the peoples. Then have him turn them over to the master workers in the house of the Lord, and have them give them to the ordinary workers who are in the house of the Lord to repair its breaches. To the carpenters, the builders, and the masons, and to purchase wood and the hewn stone. No reckoning shall be asked of them regarding the funds provided to them, because they hold the position of trust. The high priest Hilkiah informed the scribe Shaphan, I have found the book of the law in the temple of the Lord. Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, who read it. Then the scribe Shaphan went to the king and reported, your servant have smashed down the silver deposited in temple and have thrown it over to the master workers in the house of the Lord. The scribe Shaphan also informed the king, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book, and then Shaphan read it in the presence of the king. When the king heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his garment. The king then issued the command to the Hilkiah the priest, Ahikam son of the Shaphan, Akbor son of the Micaiah, Shaphan the scribe, and Isaiah the king's servant. Go consult the Lord for me, for the people, and for all Judah about the words of this book that had been found, for the rage of the Lord has been set furiously ablaze against us, because our ancestors did not obey the words of this book, nor do what is written for us. So Hilkiah the priest, Ahikam, Akbor, Shaphan, and Isaiah went to Huldah the prophet, wife of the Shalom, son of the Tikvah, son of the Haras, keeper of the wardrobes. She lived in Jerusalem in the second course when they had spoken to her. She said to them, thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, say to the man who sent you to me, thus said the Lord, I am about to bring evil upon this place and upon its inhabitants, all the words of the book which the king of the Judah has read. Because they had abandoned me and have burned the incense to the other god, provoking me by all the work of their hands. But raise in a blaze against this place, and it cannot be extinguished. But to the king of the Judah, who sent you to consult the Lord, give this response. Thus says the Lord God of Israel, as for the words you have heard, you were heartsick and have humbled yourself before the Lord when you heard what I spoke concerning this place and its inhabitant, that they would become desolation and a curse. And because you tore your garment and wept before me, I in turn have heard the oracle of the Lord. I will therefore gather you to your ancestors. You shall go to your grave in peace, and your eyes shall not see all the evil I am about to bring upon the place. This they reported to the kings. Kings chapter 23. The king then had all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem summoned before him. The king wept up to the house of the Lord with all the people of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, priests, the prophet, and all the people, great and small. He read aloud to them all the words of the book of the covenant that had been found in the house of the Lord. The king stood by the column and made the covenant in the presence of the Lord to follow the Lord and to observe this commandment, statute, and decrees with his whole heart and soul, and to establish the words of the covenant written in this book. And all the people stood by the covenant. Joshua, a religious reform. Then the king commanded the high priest Hilkiah, his assistant priest, and the doorkeeper to remove from the temple of the Lord all the objects that had been made for Baal, Asherah, and the whole host of the heaven. These he burned outside Jerusalem on the slope of the Kidron. Their ashes were carried to the Bethels. He also put an end to the idolatrous priest whom the king of Judah has appointed to burn incense on high places in the city of Judah and in the vicinity of Jerusalem. as well as those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, moon, and sign of the zodiac, and to the whole host of the heaven. From the house of the Lord he also removed the Asherah to the Wadi Kidron outside Jerusalem. He burned it and beat it to dust in the Wadi Kidron and scattered its dust over the graveyard of the people of the land. He tore down the apartment of the cult prostitute in the house of the Lord, where the woman wove garments for the Asherahs. He brought in all priests from city of the Judah and them defiled from the Gibeah to Beersheba, the high place where they had offered incense. He also tore down the high place of the gate, which were at the entrance of the gate of the Joshua, governor of the city, north of the city gate. The priests of the high place could not function at the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they, along with their relatives, ate the unleavened bread. The king also defiled the top fast in the valley of the Ben Hinnom, so that there would no longer be any immolation of the son or daughter by fire in honor of the Molech. Away with the horses which the king of the Judah had dedicated to the sun, these were at the entrance of the house of the Lord, near the chamber of the Nathan Malach the official, which was in the Raj building. The chariot of the sun he destroyed by fire. He also demolished the altar made by the king of the Judah on the roof terrace of the Ahaz, and the altars made by Manasseh in the two courts of the Lord's house. He pulverized them and threw the dust into the Wadi Kidrons. The king defiled the high place east of the Jerusalem, south of the Mount of the Destroyer, which Solomon king of Israel had built in honor of the Astartes, the Sidonian hero of the Chamosi, the Moabite hero, and of Milcom the Ammonite abomination. He broke to the pieces the pillars, cut down the Asherahs, and filled the place where they had been with human bones. Likewise, the altar which was at Bethel, the high place built by the Jeroboam, son of the Nebat, who caused Israel to sin, this same altar and high place he tore down and burned, grinding the high place to the powder and burning the Asherahs. When Joshua turned and saw graves there on the mountainside, he ordered the bones taken from the graves and burned on the altars, and thus defiled it, according to the Lord's words proclaimed by the man of the God as Jeroboam stood by the altar on the feast day. When the king looked up and saw the grave of the man of God who had proclaimed these words, he asked, "What is that mark I see?" The people of the city replied, "The grave of the man of God who came from the Judah and proclaimed the very things you have done to altar in Bethel." "Let him be," he said, "let no one move his bones." So they left his bones undisturbed together with the bones of the prophet who had come from Samaria. Joshua also removed all the temple on the high place in the city of the Samaria, which the king Israel had built. Provoking the Lord, he did not the very same to them as he had done in Bethel. He slaughtered upon the altars all the priests of the high places that were there, and burned human bones upon them. Then he returned to Jerusalem. The king issued a command to all the people, "Observe the Passover the Lord your God, as it is written in this book of the covenant." No Passover such as this had been observed during the period when the judges ruled Israel, and during the entire period of the king of Israel and the kings of the Judah, until the 18th year of the king Josiah, when this Passover of the Lord has kept in Jerusalem. Further, Joshua purged the consultation of the ghost and the spirit with the household, the God, idol, and all the other horrors to be seen in the land of the Judah and Jerusalem, so that he might carry out the words of the law that were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest had found in the house of the Lord. Before him there had been no king who turned to the Lord as he did with his whole heart, his whole being, and his whole strength, in accord with the entire law of the Moses, nor did any king like him arise after him. Yet the Lord did not turn from his fiercely burning anger against Judah because of all the provocation that Manasseh had given. The Lord said, "Even Judah will I put out of my sight as I did Israel. I will reject this city, Jerusalem which I chose, and the house of which I said, there shall my name be." The rest of the act of Josiah with all that he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Judah. In his time, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up through the Euphrates River against the king of Assyria. King Josiah set out to meet him, but was slain at Megiddo at the first encounters. His servant brought his body on the chariot from the Megiddo to Jerusalem, where they buried him in his own grave. Then the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, anointed him, and proclaimed him king to succeed his father. Reign of Jehoahaz. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of Jeremiah from Libnah. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his ancestors had done. Pharaoh Necho took him prisoner at Riblah in the land of the Hamath, thus ending his reign in Jerusalem. He imposed a fine upon the land of the 100 talent of the silver and the talent of gold. Pharaoh Necho then made Eliakim, son of Josiah, king in the place of Josiah his father. He changed his name to Jehoiakim. Jehoahaz he took away with him to Egypt, where he died. Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to the Pharaoh, but taxed the land to raise the amount the Pharaoh demanded. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from each proportionately to pay Pharaoh Necho's. Reign of the Jehoiakims. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zebidah, daughter of Phedidah from Rumah. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his ancestors had done. 2 Kings chapter 24. During Jehoiakim reign, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, attacked, and Jehoiakim became his vassal for 3 years. Then Jehoiakim turned and rebelled against him. The Lord loosed against him bands of the Chaldeans, Arameans, Moabites, and Ammonites. He unleashed them against Judah to destroy him, according to the Lord's word spoken through his servant the prophet. Before fell Judah, because the Lord had stated that he would put them out of his sight for the sins Manasseh had committed in all that he did. And especially because of the innocent blood he shed, he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and the Lord would not forgive. The rest of the act of Jehoiakim with all that he did are recorded in the book of the Chronicle of the Kings of Judah. Jehoiakim rested with his ancestors, and his son Jehoiachin succeeded him as king. The king of Egypt did not again leave his own land, for the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the Wadi of Egypt to the Euphrates River. Reign of the Jehoiachins. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Nehushtar, daughter of the Elatans from Jerusalem. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his father had done. At that time, officials of the Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, attacked Jerusalem, and the city came under siege. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon himself, arrived at the city while his officials were besieging it. Then Jehoiachin, king of Judah, together with his mother, his ministerial officials, and the functionaries, surrendered to the king of Babylon, who in the 8 years of his reign took him captive. He carried off all the treasure of the house of the Lord and the treasure of the king's house, and broke up all the gold utensils that Solomon, king of Israel, had provided in the house of the Lord, as the Lord had decreed. He deported all Jerusalem, all the officials and the warriors of the army, 10,000 in the numbers, and all the artisans and the smiths. Only the lowest of the people of the land were left. He deported Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king murdered his wives, his functionaries, and the chief of the land he led captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. All 7,000 soldiers of the army and the 1,000 artisans and the smiths, all of them trained warriors. These two king of Babylon brought the captive to Babylon. In the place of the Jehoiachin, king of Babylon made Mattaniah, Jehoiachin's uncle's king. He changed his name to Zedekiah. Reign of the Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of the Jeremiah from Libnah. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, just as Joachim had done. This befell Jerusalem and Judah because the Lord was so angry that he cast them out of his sight. Zedekiah rebelled against the king of the Babylons. 2 Kings chapter 25. In the 10th month of the 9th year of the Zedekiah reign, on the 10th day of the month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and his whole army advanced against Jerusalem, encamped around it, and built the siege walls on every side. The siege of the city continued until the 11th year of the Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the month, when a famine had gripped the city and the people of the land had no more food, the city walls were breached. That night all the soldiers came to the gate between the two walls near the king's garden. The Chaldeans had the city surrounded while the king went toward the Arabas. But Chaldeans' army pursued the king and overtook him in the desert near the Jericho, abandoned by his whole armies. The king was therefore arrested and brought to the Riblah to the king of Babylon, who pronounced the sentence on him. They slew Zedekiah's sons before his eyes. Then they put out his eyes, bound him with the fetters, and brought him to Babylon. On the 7th day of the 5th month, this was in the 19th year of the Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the bodyguard, came to Jerusalem as the agent of the king of Babylon. He burned the house of the Lord, the house of the king, and all houses of Jerusalem, every noble house. He destroyed them by fire. The Chaldeans troops who were with the captain of the guard tore down the walls that surrounded Jerusalem. And Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, led into the exile the rest of the army remaining in the city, and those who had deserted to the king of Babylon, and the last of the commoners. But some of the country poor the captain of the guard left behind as vine dressers and farmers. The bronze columns that belonged to the house of the Lord, and the stand and the bronze seat in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans broke into the pieces. They carried away the bronze to Babylon. They took also the pot, the shovels, the snuffers, the cup, and all the bronze articles used for service. The fire pans and the barrels that were of the solid gold and the silver, the captain of the guard also carried up. The columns, the one bronze seat, and the stand which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the weight in the bronze of all these articles was never calculated. Each of the columns was 18 cubits high, a bronze capital 3 cubits high surmounted each column, and the netting with the pomegranate encircled the capitals. All of the bronze, and they were duplicated on the other columns on the nettings. The captain of the guard also took the Seraiah, the chief priest, Jehohananiah, an assistant priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. And from the city he took one official who was commander of the soldier, 5 in personal service of the king who were still in the city, the scribe in charge of the army who mustered the people of the land, and the 6 of the people of the land still remaining in the city. The captain of the guard, Nebuzaradan, arrested these and brought them the king of the Babylon at the Libnah, and the king of Babylon struck them down and put them to death in the Riblah, in the land of the Hamas, and thus Judah went into the exile from their native soil, governorship of the Gedaliah. As for the people whom had allowed to remain in the land of the Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Babylon, appointed Gedaliah, son of the Ahikam, son of the Shaphan, over them. Hearing that the king of the Babylon had appointed Gedaliah over them, all the army commander and the troop came to him at the Mizpah. Ismail, son of the Nethaniah, Johanan, son of the Kareah, Seraiah, son of the Tanhumash, the Nepophathite, and Jazaniah, son of the Maachite, each with his troops. Gedaliah gave the commander and their troops his oaths. He said to them, "Do not be afraid of the Chaldean officials. Remain in the country and serve the king of Babylon, so that all will be well with you." But in the 7th month, Ismail, son of the Nethaniah, son of the Elishama, of royal descent, came with 10 others, attacked Gedaliah and killed him, along with the Judahite and the Chaldeans who were in Mizpah with him. Then all the people, great and small, left with the army commanders and went into Egypt for fear of the Chaldeans. Release of the Jehoiachims. On the 37th year of the exile of the Jehoiachin, king of the Judah, on 27th day of the 12th month, Evil-Merodach, king of the Babylon, in the inaugural year of his own reign, raised up the Jehoiachin, king of Judah, from prison. He spoke kindly to him and gave him a throne higher than that of the other kings who were with him in Babylon. Jehoiachin took out his prison garb. He ate regularly in the king's presence as long as he lived. And for his allowance, the king granted him a regular allowance, and fixed the daily amount for as long as he lived.